Bonjour, nous sommes ravis de votre patience. Bienvenue dans cette nouvelle version améliorée de l'émission. Welcome to the flat. Footy from the flat is starting. Footy from the flat is starting. Footy from the flat is starting.
Jesse. I have a question for you.
I can't wait.
Which of these things at the weekend made you more angry? A, Sandy Brock, just generally not defending. B, Elliot Yeo, getting that set shot and leaning back on the snap, kicking it into the third row and completely missing. C, Liam Duggan, just generally being shit. Or E, the arc.
I think you missed D there, John.
I didn't. I definitely didn't.
You went from C to E though.
Oh, did I? Damn. Yeah, that's the D, the arc.
I love these cold opens you do about West Coast every single week. Give it lasted 1 second before we get to the Eagles. Elliot Yeo, probably.
Was that the one that made you the most angry?
Probably. Actually, no. I think, with all due respect, Liam Duggan probably makes me the most angry. But I think that's because we zero in on him. So I'm ready to pounce on him, which is probably unfair.
Neutral watching the West Coast game, I didn't think Liam Duggan in this particular game was like the biggest problem.
Agreed, but I still get
There's
angry.
Trauma.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep. Trauma on top of trauma. I would have to say, watching West Coast at the moment is a seriously difficult watch.
Oh, is it, Dylan?
It's great.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you.
You're so shit. Like, to actually have to go through that with the skill errors, the fade outs in quarters, but on top of that, to also get the arc calling back a mark on the goal line, was it a minute and a half after it had happened, almost 2 minutes after it had happened. And then to me, the mark didn't even look like it was actually a mark.
Yeah,
it looked at least it looked pretty inconclusive. To call that back was absolutely ridiculous and not something that West Coast, where they're at the moment, need.
No. I must admit the last quarter kind of blew that out of my mind. So
Sure.
I think everyone was kind of pissed off to see that happen though. When you have a minute and a half of football transpire and every stat that gets recorded has to be erased in that minute and a half. Not that that's a big deal, but it's an absurd outcome. I think it pissed off everybody.
Yeah.
On top of that, I do think they probably got the decision wrong.
I think they
I
did.
thought they did, but I mean, that's not new. They still do make those kinds of mistakes all the time with ARC.
What on earth made them look at that? Kind of in retrospect, the play goes on and then go like, this is worth bringing it back.
In case it was a 1 point margin, Dylan.
In case it was a 1 point margin.
And what if it had been a 1 point margin?
Do you
it
think
could have been exactly 100 points instead of 101.
Would that have even been brought up, do you think, if the game had ended in a really close situation? Would the media have grabbed that and gone, look at this big decision and the ARC didn't call it back? Do you think we would?
Oh, no. It would have been gone unnoticed had they not called it back. That's true. So
I just find this like pursuit of perfection a little bit nauseating with football, because we always hone in on things at particular times in games which tend to be worse, et cetera, et cetera. So like, I feel like you don't need to have such a priority placed upon perfection in these situations. Just let it go. Like, the umpires are always going to make mistakes. It's just going to happen. It's the human condition.
Yeah, I agree generally. But if we have the system in place, I understand why they review everything and don't look at the margin. That's not the issue for me. It was the fact that it took a minute.
They should. I agree they shouldn't look at the margin.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just think this constant pursuit of perfection starts to ruin the product a little bit.
Yeah, probably. I think that's certainly true in soccer where, the offsides are called when a player has the sleeve of their shirt over the line. That's probably a bit absurd. In this case, I think it would have been an important moment had the game been close. But they took too long to deliberate. I don't know how it leads to that.
Yeah.
But an absurd outcome and not the only misfire the Arc has had recently or even in this round, Dylan.
Yeah. Do you think I'm going a little bit too deep into this, but do you think that, like, let's say that had been on the wing and that same thing happens and it's like a mark across the line on the wing and it was Rowan Marshall, yeah.
Yeah.
He floats across. I think everyone can accept that we don't need that then. So why do we then need it on the goal line? Why is one prioritised over the other?
I guess because the score changes.
Because the score specifically changes on that.
I suppose so.
But they could theoretically be, you could score from the play that Rowan Marshall marks it on the line. So why do we prioritise one over the other?
I think that you can make an allowance for making that kind of decision when there's a stoppage. And in that case, there was a brief stoppage. But they took far too long to call it back, in my opinion. I think that's the part that everyone's getting stuck on. It doesn't help that they also probably got the decision wrong.
It doesn't, does it?
In my opinion.
It makes it a lot worse.
Doesn't.
I'm going to see what the chat is saying about this. People saying bring in Kane Corns to coach West Coast. What do you think about that, Jesse?
I think it would be kind of funny to see him put his money where his mouth is a little bit, for lack of a better phrase. He does throw a lot of criticism.
He does.
I don't think he is a coach, so I don't know about that.
Probably not going to work. Max Hansen says they bring in a technology aiming for it to be only used for the obvious howlers, but it always turns into power creep and it gets used for everything. I sort of agree with that.
That's true.
And you look at technology in other sports. You've got, I think, like goal line technology in soccer is a outrageous success. That just seems to work perfectly all the time. It always gets the right results, and it also has that element of being automatic.
Except for the 2010 World Cup. Was it in place in the 2010 World Cup? I'm thinking, and I used to live in England, so I remember this, but where, was it Lampard scored a goal that was disallowed?
Yeah, but I don't think that
Germany?
was 2010.
I can't remember.
I think it was earlier.
I reckon it was 2010. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yes. No, but I don't think that was a goal line technology fail. So maybe it will.
Maybe it predates VAR. It probably almost certainly does, actually, now I think about it. VAR came in much later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, fair.
New Haven says, I feel like you shouldn't be able to pull back if play continues for more than 20 to 30 seconds.
Which I believe has now been instated as a rule. I think that happened.
Oh, they've actually made a definitive.
I think they made a decision that you can't ever have that again, which is the correct call.
Yep. And just general West Coast scourge in the comment section. Harley and Dersma will head to the Hawks soon. Eagles are worse than 2011 Demons.
I'd need to do a proper analysis on that, but I'm not dismissing
and I
it.
bet you won't. Like, why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah, if there was a video to be made, maybe, but I'm not sure.
And West Coast should be relegated to Waffle and bring in Tasmania, which the AFL's already looking at.
Mind you, the Eagles are 3-1 in the Waffle.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm switching to the Waffle now.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's growth for the club. You've been pretty poor in the Waffle.
Yeah. Matt always kicked 5, so that bodes well.
Yes. Yep. No, I like
Bring
that.
in Tasmania, I got that, yeah.
So, Jesse, news a little bit before we get into the games. Lance Collard's situation. This has kind of been done, I suppose, but he was handed a 9-week suspension for a homophobic slur. An appeals board then overturned that 9 weeks into 4 weeks to suspended. So Collard has ended up in a situation where he's actually got a second offence homophobic slur, still a guilty verdict, but a miscarriage of justice, I suppose, was how they put this, as far as overturning the initial suspension. And he's ended up with less than he got the first one.
Yeah, that's an absurd outcome. There was so much wrong with how this played out. They upheld the guilty verdict but slashed the punishment to less than the first one. You think it's kind of either not guilty at all or maintain punishment, but instead they just thought, oh yeah, he did it, but it's forgivable to some extent.
So this is the quote that everybody's stewing over at the moment. the appeals board said, we observe that football is a hard game. It's highly competitive, particularly at its higher levels. And it's commonplace that players can employ language from time to time which is racist, sexist, or homophobic whilst on field. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and he got sacked as a result of it. Which, yeah, I did think that was... It felt like that's probably like one person with an opinion.
That's what it
who's
felt
come
like.
in and then just tried to manufacture a result. They also played on the... Or they also used as part of the defence, his background and difficult upbringing meant that he couldn't handle 9 weeks as a suspension.
Yeah,
Which
I'm a little bit more sympathetic towards like the side of this that is the background side of it, given that
right.
I do think it's more difficult for players like that to sort of, I suppose, like when they get into the AFL, all of these things and expectations on them is a little bit different. So I can understand that would be a part of the sentencing, but not to the degree in which it's happened here.
Yeah.
And particularly the wording around that, which I think is setting the wrong example of basically saying that that's okay to do that.
Yeah, and then the fact that the player that received the insult was not offended.
That's absurd.
Yeah, that's
absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Yeah. I mean, for a variety of reasons, but also you're kind of assuming that player was not gay, right?
Yeah.
But that player might not be out. So if you use that as a metric, like a standard going forward, it's ludicrous.
Yeah. It's absolutely the whole like the victim's not offended thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very old.
Yeah, it's either acceptable or it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I suppose that, what I was talking about with the part on Collard's background, I guess it's difficult to have an expectation that people from all different backgrounds have the same vocabulary and can kind of just switch that on and off when they get into the AFL. And it is still, I think it's still an understandable thing that he's a young guy and has a lot of growing up to do. But yeah, as I said, disagree with the outcome.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, albeit he has also served a punishment for this already. And presumably I think there was an educational element of that. So yeah, I don't know if you could be too forgiving, but I do get your overall point.
Yep. So Bonk Choi says it was clearly a boomer, old school King's Counsel who hasn't kept with the times. Yeah, I'd also crossed my mind that the person who said those words was like trying to pander to someone, a certain demographic. I don't know if that was because there is obviously a certain demographic of AFL fans that has those views that language is acceptable, and I just wondered if that was a bit of that as well.
I think you're right, or it's just his personal opinion.
Could be.
But it did feel like that it came from that kind of place. Yeah, a bit of both as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, an absurd result. And just a string of bad PR outcomes for the AFL. Just consider over the last number of weeks what's happened.
I can't tell if that stuff is, if they're just absolutely going through it right now, the AFL, and they're just going from chaos to chaos and it just keeps coming at them hard and they keep making bad decisions, or we're in a bubble and there's so much media and it feels like the problems are worse. I don't know. These
are two pretty peculiar events though, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah, I would describe them both as peculiar. Obviously with the duty of care care element. Don't laugh. We get here. I get here at about 1 o'clock every Monday. And we've been filming for about 5 hours. So I'll just have you know. So I have a little bit of a dry throat, Dylan. Yep. Where was I going with that?
That was fun though.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. The breach of care, I suppose, or duty of care element with Elijah Hollins, and then flowing into the appeals board going rogue a little bit. Those are two pretty peculiar things.
I completely agree with you, and I think you're right. It's just, sometimes in the modern world, you feel like the social media aspect of everything just seems to continuously intensify, and you wonder how, everything always feels like it's going to shit all the time. And I wonder how much that plays a part. But I do agree. These are pretty unprecedented things. We've got footy though, Jesse. Let's get into the football.
Yes, I would I like to do a couple of housekeeping elements to this show, Dylan.
Yep.
First of all, we had our first Sideline exclusive show. I just want to point out as well, I don't know if we're live on Sideline right now, so we might need to look into that. At least it's not coming up on my tab that I have open here. We'll fix that shortly. But we had our first Sideline exclusive show for Gold Coast versus Hawthorn. I thought you were best dressed, Dylan. If anyone saw that story,
I looks good.
Decided there's no cameras. He can dress however he wants. The Borat mankini, sombrero, googly eyes, glasses. You were best on ground. But the show was really good. We are also doubling down. We're going Saturday, not exclusively on Sideline. We're going to be live streaming West Coast v Richmond, Battle of the Ages at Optus Stadium, Spoon Bowl, as they're calling it.
Spoon Bowl.
And pretty confident of a Richmond win at this point. But just so you guys know, we'll be live streaming this weekend. And I want to shout out 5 new members. We have Blake Murphy, Slothman, Luke Sack, K Bullen87, and Gazbomb. Thank you for your support. Really appreciate it.
Love a bit of Gaz.
We've got a number of members in the chat as well. Bong Choi is one. Rogue Ride is one. He is a GOAT. A long-standing member.
We promise he's here by his own accord.
Yes, sorry. I'm good now.
You're good? Okay.
I'm good with the housekeeping.
So we're going to take you back in a little time capsule and go to Thursday night at Marvel Stadium. The Sydney Swans, as they say, flexed their muscles. They went like this.
Gadoosh.
Fucking 18-18, 126 to 9-6-60. It was a 66-point win to the Swans. And after a fast start for the Dogs this season, everything just seems to be falling apart. I look back to that Essendon game. If you go back to the halftime of that, I think the score was, if I have it here, I don't have the score here, but it was like 50 to 1, essentially 57 to 1 against Essendon. Tim English goes down. Essendon basically win the second half of that game. And since that moment, the Dogs have not been the same.
Yeah, it's weird. They've also played a few more difficult teams in a row, I reckon. Not that that's too much excuse. I think it lies deeper than simply who they've played, because they also beat the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba early. They beat Adelaide away.
Yeah, Brisbane, GWS and Adelaide.
And they rinsed GWS as well, didn't they? So who have they lost to since? They lost to Sydney. They've lost to Hawthorn.
Yeah, they lost
and there was somebody in between that.
I feel like there was a bad loss. Why do I feel like there was a
bad?
There
was. Geelong.
Yeah.
Cameron kicked 10 on him.
That's right.
So, there's absolute chalk and cheese. I will point out, they were actually one of the youngest teams in the comp this week. So there has been some personnel issue. I'm not sure if that's the entire problem, but they're normally sitting around the 26 years old and 100 games mark per player. This week it was 25 and 79.9, which puts them a little bit closer to teams like Essendon, West Coast and North Melbourne. Not quite that far, but I think we are seeing a little bit of exposure, particularly in the ruck. We saw Louis Emmett, we saw Lachlan Smith.
You know, like there's always that prevailing conversation of AFL fans, and there's always this argument of like, do rucks actually matter? And it's like, do you need a good ruck? You probably don't need a good ruck. You need a competitive ruck. Don't know. Are rucks important at all? They based on the Western Bulldogs form, they probably are.
Yeah.
You can't just have an 18-year-old that's come out of the draft in Louis Emmett, albeit like a great job from him to get into that team in the first place.
Yep.
But he cannot do all the heavy lifting in this side by himself.
Yeah, and you look at a team like West Coast, you see even Richmond without Nankervis, who's the drop to the next player is quite significant. We saw Port Adelaide against Geelong this weekend is another example of what can happen when you have a ruck dominance. So agreed, rucks are important. Speaking of Grundy, All Australian, looking good.
Will he beat off Gawn? I just wanted. I was going to say beat out, and then I'm like, I just wanted to throw that in there.
I reckon you can make a case to pick two. I reckon both rucks are so good this year. You could conceivably. Also, they're going to pick 23 players this year. I reckon it's coming.
How much of that will come down to Sydney, like their overall finishing position in the season? Do you think? Or will that be out of the picture?
I think if he just continues on this trajectory of form, he'll be in the mix.
Gawn's in, right?
Yeah, at this point, you're not excluding Gawn at this point. Yeah.
No, I think, and you called that. You called it in the preseason.
Yeah.
It was one of your beautiful predictions. He's been absolutely awesome.
The few of them that I made.
I want to talk Charlie Curnow from the Sydney side.
Yeah.
Like, what does he have to do? This is my question here. You know, like we generally put these players when they cross over from another team, is that trade a success? What does he have to do for this to be a success? Because I'm looking at his games. He went Carlton in opening round, 3 goals. No goals against Brisbane. 2 against Hawthorn. Then he went 4 against West Coast, 4 against Gold Coast, which was probably the best team that he's actually kicked goals against. Then he went GWS 3 goals and Western Bulldogs 7 goals. But although the Western Bulldogs probably sit amongst that top 8 teams, their defence is really, really shoddy.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of team that he's going to kick 7. what I'm asking is, when does this become... I think we're still in the... If you were doing like a graph on this, we'd still be in the negatives. He's not in the positive, like this has been a good...
Really?
Right, like just... I'm not saying this is not a good trade. I'm just saying we would still be there. There has to be performances and big games for him to say that this has been a smash hit for all the picks that they gave away. What does he have to do? Paint the picture for me.
That's a good question. I don't know if it needs to be measured in an accolade like a Coleman or ranking highly for that. I think, he's there to put Sydney's dominance on the scoreboard. And you do wonder if 12 months ago had Sydney played as well as they have been and won by 5 goals, you think, imagine if they had a key forward. Well, having someone like a Charlie Curnow who converts is the difference between them winning by 4 or 5 goals and winning by 11 goals. That being said, they had a mountain of supply in this game, 70-46, dominated in the air. They're actually number 1 in the league for offensive one-on-ones.
Yeah.
So one-on-one contests inside their forward 50, all got in terms of forward chains. So I think he's so far absolutely up to par in what they expect. And the game he didn't score goals, they won by 7 goals or something, didn't they, against Brisbane?
Yes.
Yeah, they won that game. Yeah.
They did. So, I mean, ultimately that, like, if Sydney go on to win the premiership, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you obviously rate these guys game to game. That's a big signing. They gave up a lot for him. And I just kind of wanted to... I feel like ultimately it'll be judged in the finals. Because Sydney,
absolutely.
From where Sydney are right now, they need to do damage this season. 2 big grand final losses.
Yep.
He'll want to have a good final series.
Yeah, I totally agree. And these things are often reflected on in premierships, rightly or wrongly. Like, the Judd trade gets a lot of... the Judd trade got talked about a lot after West Coast won one because then Kennedy and Masson had a premiership.
Yep.
And that was ultimately what people decided the Eagles won that trade. I'm not sure if that's as black and white as that. Or another West Coast one would be Tim Kelly. And that one's measured about how the team fell apart after that as well. So there's a few different elements, but ultimately it's going to be how close does the team get to winning the flag with Charlie Curnow.
Yep, I completely agree. Just a little Bontempelli glaze here.
I have a dot point here, saying Bont's kicking inside 50. Whoa.
Did I write that?
No, I wrote that.
Oh,
phonetically spelled it like that as well.
Because my dad came to me, he's visiting me at the moment, and he was like, I want to captain Bontempelli. And I'm like, he might be injured this week. Like, he could be laid out. Don't put the C on Bontempelli. Not only does he play, his knee is like heavily strapped up. Darts. Darts inside
I can't
50.
believe he was smoking.
Yeah, exactly. But do you reckon Max Bontempelli gets at times still gets slightly underrated? I know that's like a bit of a ridiculous conversation, but this year everyone's been talking about Nick Dacos, they've been talking about Heaney, they've been talking about Butters. Bond's still the guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's my guy.
Absolutely.
Where did you have him in your ratings?
1.
Good.
Yeah.
Good man.
He hasn't deviated from that for some time. I thought he was sensational. And you do kind of hope he gets... I was going to say you hope he gets a premiership, but he's already got one. Maybe a Brownlow.
I do feel like I know he don't get me wrong here, he has the premiership and he was a star in that premiership. He could have won the Norm Smith in that game. You feel like he wants another one more when he's in the kind of romantic period of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't exist. That's true. Smingscapes points out the Eagles won the Judd trade because we had a 700 goal key forward. That's true, but I just mean that is where the narratives, that was sort of re-emerged as a topic. I think it was Rogie above also pointed out Max Heath being in the team might impact Max Gawn for the rest of the season. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
That's a good point, yeah.
It's a good shout. I think at the moment, though, you'd have to say that Heath is there to give him a chop out.
Yeah, totally.
He looked injured at the weekend.
Yeah. Tom McCartan also emerging as one of the more... I don't know if you go improved players, but I suppose from like the last couple of years, Tom McCartan, this is probably the career best season, I would say.
I feel like he was on that trajectory coming into last year, but then the Dean Cox move to push him forward, he was a bit unsettled, wasn't he? And he kind of couldn't just stay back there. I feel like now with the other players that they've got, you've got really defined roles back there. Like Blakey's your ball mover, comes back and helps out a little bit. You've got Grundy who pushes back and takes intercepts. He can just kind of lock down on his guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Be that big dog.
3 contested marks in this game. Sydney actually won the contested marks 18-4.
18-4.
Battering in contested marks.
That one didn't even...
Yeah. Obviously, the Dogs missing some tall timber with Norton and Darcy out. And
Norton went down.
And O'Donnell, I suppose, as well.
Did you see the Norton thing?
Yes.
Scary.
Yeah, not good. I think he's been cleared of serious damage. But
yeah, he has. I think, yeah, that one was absolutely nuts. Dogs in free fall.
Mm-hmm.
Where to from here?
I'm not sure. Not often. I mean, it is concerning form. It has. They got the Dockers this week. They're going to get pantsed.
I think they have a nice run of fixtures after the Dockers.
Yeah, they need a nice run of fixtures just to get some confidence back.
Yeah,
because it's.
You still think top sort of 6, don't you?
Yeah, I reckon they're in the 6.
I don't think they are.
Oh, I think they're a chance for the 6.
I
think they're clearly behind 5 teams at least.
I think if we took stock after three games, we'd be a lot more. We would have been talking top 4.
Yeah,
and now we're talking top 8. I think that's sort of clear. We will move on to the next game, which is Friday night. Melbourne defeated Richmond at the MCG 19-12, 126 to 11-6, 72. It was a 54-point win to the D's. Richmond now have an average losing margin of 51 points across the 2026 season. I think they've clearly been overall consistently the biggest disappointment.
Biggest disappointment? That's a good question.
Or would you say Carlton?
Yes.
I kind of asked that rhetorically, but then I was like...
Yeah, if you went super literal with the question, but I understand it's a fair question, a fair point to make.
So in this game, Richmond fans were particularly pissed off with the umpiring, mainly around holding the ball and lack thereof being paid free kicks for their tackling. So they're tackling not being rewarded with holding the ball free kicks, which seems to be a bit of a... I must admit, I think in the last couple of years, again, as a neutral fan, just watching AFL games, like sometimes it's hard to understand exactly why a free kick has been paid or not been paid. And there's a big fluctuation certainly across different games, but often within the same game, which is frustrating.
See, I'm one that thinks they're a little too hot on holding the ball.
Okay, so you go that way.
Yeah, a little bit, which I know is unsexy, and we want to see fast transition footy and more more free kicks and less stoppages, right? But I thought there was a few throughout the game that were just wild in general for various different reasons in this particular clash. But there was one at the end that I particularly remember where Jack Steele got a handball out and he was tackled. The tackle didn't trap him properly. He got a handball out and they called it holding the ball, which I think you do need to reward tackles that are good and complete.
I would say that one was inconsistent in that particular game.
Sure.
For the rewarding of it, because they hadn't been hot on that like they were in that particular situation. But go on.
I was going to say you made a good point on the Hawks Gold Coast stream when I brought that point up, and the idea is that you don't want tackles to be prolonged, which lead to sling actions, which lead to injuries.
That was the idea when they brought it in. Yeah, that if the tackler doesn't hear the whistle, then they're going to leave it. So you do notice even with ball up stuff, the umpires pay it pretty quickly if they think there's no prior, they've been tackled and they're not going to be able to get it out. They just blow the whistle straight away. Where usually that went on for a little bit and they'll see if it slips out, but that's going to lead to those like more fierceful tackles. So I think they don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like I did watching this game, wanting Richmond to be in it because I wanted to watch like a really hot, highly contested game. I wanted Richmond to do well. So I was kind of cheering them on and the umpiring was pissing me off a little bit.
Gotcha.
So I can see how they feel.
Spinkscape says we should reward the players who are trying to win the ball, not those holding off waiting to tackle. That's a fair point too.
That is a fair point. Sort of fundamental parts of the game. There was another stand rule violation in this game. I don't know if you saw this one. It was Miller for Richmond.
I watched the game but I forget.
Yeah, so...
it's been a lot of footy since then.
Yeah, Brody Mychek marks the ball and Miller is tracking his man like slightly on the inside of where Mychek marks the ball on his own. Miller then, I guess gets drawn into being the stand player and the umpire tells him to stop. But Miller's kind of in that one-track mind of like he's tracking his defender. Obviously, that's what the rule has been brought in for so that you can't flood back like that. But it felt very harsh in the moment that you can see a defender trying to be a defender, but then having to get dragged like in these technicalities, and it's and then you hate the game being stopped.
Yep.
Everybody going.
It so often leads to a goal too.
It does.
Which I think does ruin the game. I think across the week or any given round, you're probably finding a few per game that just about lead to a goal.
Yep.
Which I think is the worst element. I cringe a little bit when my team gets rewarded with them.
Yeah.
In general, I just think it's It's a shitty outcome when it happens.
It feels like it takes, like, there's a little part, you get like your win, and like, imagine your win as a pie. It's like somebody's taking
the cream,
yeah,
or a little bit
taking
of the
cream.
crust.
Yeah, or just
No,
even
actually, I
even
wouldn't care
little
that
slice.
much. I wouldn't care that much if we won as a result of it.
No, of course not. Of
Yeah.
course not. But yeah, it's
So
like
we
I
don't
know.
win anymore. So
There was the one in the Gold Coast Hawthorn game
yeah,
with
yeah.
was that McAndrew? Was he involved in
No,
that?
it was.
Oh, sorry.
It wasn't Petrarca, was it?
It was Barris. Barris had the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody walked over the line. Yeah, and they got a goal, and that, I think at the margin that point was either 9 points or 15 points, and Gold Coast,
Yes.
it took away their momentum.
And you had to, I think Jamara was involved, and
Might have been Jamara.
Jamara and somebody else, and it was very unclear as to who was supposed to be standing the mark, and they both didn't know.
Yeah, Rogie says the Jamara one was atrocious, so confirming it was Jamara. By the way, when I said it took Gold Coast and momentum away, I don't mean to say it decided the game, but it was an annoying part.
Clearly the better team, but
Yeah.
like sometimes you can, Gold Coast were potentially on for a plucky little win there, and it definitely did halt their momentum. The only other thing from this Melbourne game was Jai Cully.
I know.
His knee injury. That was very sad.
Yeah, it sucks. I feel really bad for him. Player that I want to succeed as an ex-Eagle. We delisted him, and as in he didn't request a trade away. Regardless, ACL's one of the worst elements of our game when it happens, and I feel really bad for the guy. He's a really hardworking guy, and I do think he's shown enough to potentially be persevered with.
He was doing really well.
Yeah, he was. He was definitely playing a role in that team. So fingers crossed he gets back. But
Yeah.
it always sucks when a player does two, and it wasn't that long ago, the first one.
Yeah, 100%. Super tough. We move forward. We move forward to that game that we streamed, Jesse. Hawthorn defeated the Gold Coast Suns 16-16, 112 to 9-9-63, a 49-point win to the Hawks. It's weird. It did feel like the Hawks dominated this game, but at the same time, 49 points feels like a little heavy for us watching it. Like there was jeopardy in that third quarter, right? Where the Suns were coming in hot. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of ruined the game.
I think we're experiencing a time in the game where you get burned on turnover so much more, and that's why you might see closer games or games that feel closer blow out on the scoreboard. And I think this is an example of that.
Yeah.
The difference between the two sides was ultimately Hawthorn's ball use inside 50 was with precision and really well thought out. We talked about Gold Coast going in tall. Well, their ball use inside 50 was still over the top of every forward that they had. And even though they were doing a lot around that pretty well and getting enough supply, I don't remember the inside 50 count, but I think it was fairly decent. But it resulted in a turnover, and Hawthorn kicked 13 goals, 10 from turnover in this game. I think they only kicked a couple from stoppage.
Yeah, that's
13
right.
goals, 10 from stoppage, from turnover rather.
Yeah.
So I think that was the difference between these two sides. Hawthorn very damaging on turnover and really thoughtful for the way they use the ball, and it helps when Jack Gunston, even his flower bags are going through the middle.
Totally. There was a little bit of wild wind down there, I suppose, which was causing some of the skill errors. But yeah, like I feel like if you're the Gold Coast Suns and you're taking into the team, who was in it? Jed Walter.
Yep.
Ethan Reed.
Yep.
Jamara and Ben King were all there. And then plus you obviously have Witts and Mac Andrew who are in the ruck as well. Like that's 6 talls potentially in your front half at any given time.
And then you have a couple of like medium players who are also aerial threats, like Humphrey and Long.
And I'm just trying. So Farah wasn't in the team, was he?
No.
They would have been small outside of that. But yeah, 100%. And I know they like to play that, repeat entry kind of game style where those Humphrey types do sort of like also come into the play in the air as well. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to play Hawthorn, who have Barris and Battle and these types back there, you got to disrupt them a little bit better than that. Otherwise, they're going to hurt you. And they did. They scored a lot from the back half. And everything they're so expansive with their kicking, like the way that they flick the ball around and just move the direction of the defense. They always seem to be able to get Jack Gunston in this one out where he's found a little pocket of space with his intelligence, takes the mark. He could keep doing this. He could keep doing this for 2-3 years.
He averages 6.5 shots a game.
Crazy.
As well. So yeah, he's clearly getting opportunities and, as I said, being very accurate. A dead-eye dick, one would say.
A dead-eye dick. Great turn of phrase.
Sounds like a horrible condition.
It does sound like a horrible condition. I don't reckon Gunston would be able to do this at another team. I think this has been built for him.
Yeah. A kind of lead-up player. Hawthorn are a great team at finding space for their forwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
They are...
Sydney could probably do it, actually.
Sydney might be able to do it, although with their new style, the handball heavy game, I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, number one for scores per inside 50. This could go on forever. So the Gold Coast Suns, their next month is really good, but they're in a patch of really, really shitty form right now. Where do you place them? I did that with the Western Bulldogs before. Where are they?
They're behind Sydney. They're behind Brisbane. They're behind... are they behind Geelong? It's actually hard to make that argument right now.
Yeah,
they're certainly behind Fremantle.
There's a trust in the Cats, isn't there?
Did I say Hawthorn? Sydney, Hawthorn, Brisbane,
Freo.
So that's 4 teams definitely. And Geelong and them are probably fighting it out for that 5.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's 6. Okay, so the Bulldogs are definitely not a top 6 chance now, now that I actually mapped that out.
Yeah, and then you got the Crows.
Yeah.
Who we're not sure about either, but that's an interesting one. I want you to tell me, Jesse, right now, what we talked about those tools and they went in with, I guess, 6 of them. Who is their, what's their best mix in the forward half of the ground, we'll say? So we'll leave out Witts. We'll maybe assume that Mac Andrews playing the second ruck role. Who's their forwards?
Ben King.
Yep.
On talent, probably still Jamara, I think.
You're going to take Jamara?
I think from a best case scenario point of view, yeah.
And
then probably Walter.
Then you go, well, so no Reed. Or do you play Reed as a winger?
Yeah, you probably push Reed to another wing.
I don't like that.
Or another role, another role.
You know these guys, and it's like, in theory, you're like, oh, he's 200 centimetres and he moves so well, he could play wing. But then when they actually do play wing...
Is he a better forward than Walter, though?
Well, he's not a better forward than Walter, but he's a different forward. So he's a better endurance runner.
Yeah.
He can cover the ground more, which is why he's able to play wing.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I think they've gone with him because when you've got King and you've got Jamara, Walter in a way is like a similar type to those guys. So Reed gives you something different.
They definitely need some ground level players though, like in that 450. I know they've got some quality. Roses Jr. has moved to Sydney naturally, but I think particularly in this game, whenever the ball went to the ground, first of all, they got beaten in contested ball. Hawthorn were better at getting the ball out, but I think a ground level presence was really what they lacked in the forward line.
Yeah. In that game, just to give you some player ratings on this, Walter was 2.8 rating, which is, just to put that into context, like some of the best players in a game are usually pushing 30 player ratings.
Yeah.
2.8. Ethan Reed had 6.1 player rating. Jamara had 2.1 and King had 5.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the ball use going inside 50 was deplorable, though, to be fair.
It was.
So I give him a little bit of a mulligan for that. But the decision didn't pay off, absolutely.
I agree.
We do have a super chat here from Raging Rhino. Thank you so much. If the stand rule is violated, it should only be a 15-metre penalty. And yes, with North, we're absolutely robbed. Let's go Roos. So somebody also said, thank you so much, by the way. Somebody also pointed out 25 metres. But I feel like I agree in theory, but sometimes the fuss of moving 15 metres actually just allows the other opposition team to probably set up. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not enough of a penalty. Maybe 25 is.
Yeah, gotcha.
But sometimes if it's a 15-metre penalty, there's too much hoo-ha about it and it doesn't actually give you any kind of advantage.
Yeah. So, okay, what are our options here? Let's talk this out. Most nuclear option. Is there a world where you just go, fuck this, fuck the stand rule, and we're just not going to have it at all, and it goes back to how it used to be, and you just stand the mark? And obviously that is going to stop ball movement a little bit. You're going to be able to push numbers back a little bit better, yada, yada, yada. For some reason I've used that a couple of times in this stream.
I actually didn't notice.
I don't know why. I've never done that before.
Yada, yada, yada.
Is that an option? That's option 1.
Maybe. That's all I've got for you. I don't really know.
Do you like the stand rule?
I hate the outcome of having 50-metre penalties all the time for a player walking 1 metre over the line or getting slightly too close.
Do you think it's a point, like I've made this point before, that the stand rule is kind of set up to make good teams better? Because if you're more highly skilled, which is okay, like in theory that is okay, but it does take away ways for opposition coaches to stop you, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's something that could be looked at. You could just go, let's not make this so complicated, and let's not have all these free kicks all the time and these technical things. Get rid of it. Another option would be to slightly tweak it.
Yeah.
I suppose, and make it a little bit less severe.
Yeah, I don't really know the answer to that one. The 25-meter thing is interesting. It's better than 15. A 15-meter chip. Like, I don't know. I think there's too much fuss around that. But somebody's saying 25-meter penalty for a stand and 50 for everything else. I think that's an interesting idea. I'm not sure. I do think the outcome where the play is constantly moving forward 50 meters because somebody made such a minor infringement and with such a massive impact on the game is less than desirable. I don't know how much of it is poor discipline, but I feel like a lot of it's down to confusion.
Yeah, and probably, I guess you can say this is a part of sport, but like under fatigue, just lack of concentration.
Yeah.
I reckon a lot of the time that happens as well. Often happens with guys that have just come back into the team. Like that was probably Jamara.
Yeah. That's true.
He's just come back into the team.
Yeah, the game's probably changed a bit since he played.
Game's probably changed. And they probably, I'm not sure how it's umpired at VFL, but it's probably not as strict on stuff like that, which is a factor as well. But I don't know. I'm getting a bit sick of stuff like that. Will we move on to the next game?
We can. I just want to shout out Sideline FM, who's also in the chat inside. We have 8 people listening on that platform. He says, not sure what happened there. I think we just had a bit of a glitch just going live. And he said, great show last Saturday. Thank you, mate. We also have a super chat, Dylan.
Oh.
We have, this is Redback Spider 72. Thank you so much. We have possibly the most chaotic and best ball sport in the world, but the Boffins, is that a Star Wars thing?
Boffins.
Yeah, but the Boffins at HQ overcomplicate
Producer.
it big time. Absolutely. Can we look up whether that's a...
What is it?
I'm going to look that up.
Boffins.
They do overcomplicate it. Absolutely.
I love that.
We constantly... No, it's a British slang for scientists, engineers, or technical experts. I'm going to Google Star Wars.
Okay. Interesting. So...
Boffins. It's Boffins with a TH in Star Wars.
Is there a etymological link between those two things?
Depends what etymological means.
Language?
Yeah. I have no idea. Probably not, to be honest. Sideline says it all comes back to Star Wars.
It all comes
That's
back
so
to Star
true.
Wars.
We do get
I don't think it's an overcomplication, but there is, I suppose, like what the AFL are thinking is that they're constantly wanting to make the product bigger for where their money comes from, which is TV. So anything that, like, obviously what worse teams do, poorer coaches do, not poorer coaches, poorer teams, they want to clog up and make games defensive. So they've got more chance of winning, obviously. That slows down the ball movement, which kind of slows down the product, makes the product worse. And that's why they're making these decisions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Spinkscape says, many Boffins died to bring us this information. That's a great quote from Star Wars.
That is excellent.
Yeah.
TGIM Cole. TGIM Cole? That's not right.
I'll take this one. TGIMI Cole. Actually, no, I can't do it either.
It's harder than it looks.
The biggest issue isn't the specific rule. It's the messing around each year to tweak things.
Yeah.
That's true. When you don't have like a concrete rule and that's ever changing, it just always creates unintended consequences.
And it clearly gives the players not as much continuity.
Yeah.
And they can't be, they just can't get into the swing of it, right? It's clear that that's a big part of this, and they make mistakes, and it doesn't feel like anybody. Does it honestly think with any of these stand rule violations that anyone's actually trying to break the rules?
Nah, not with particularly like running past.
Yeah.
No, generally not. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's a huge advantage that's being gained out of any of this.
Yeah. You do see like cheeky moments where players will hold up the ball or hold up the player. That probably isn't like a competitive advantage they're trying to get.
They often don't pay stuff for that though.
I agree. Like
that's the stuff they
should get hot on. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. More of that kind of like that tactical free.
Yeah.
type.
Which there's a lot of. And there's no way umpires don't even, they must discuss it as well.
They bloody well must discuss it.
They know what things are.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go to the big Anzac Day game, which was after the one that we streamed, the blockbuster. Collingwood defeated Essendon at the MCG 2017, 137 to 9,660. A 77-point demolition, which you would have thought would have been the biggest loss of the weekend, but it sure wasn't.
I thought you were going to say it wasn't the biggest Anzac loss, which I believe it was. You could have hurt me a number of ways with this one because I tipped Essendon.
You did too.
A couple of weeks after tipping Richmond to beat GWS. Other than that, my tipping's been all right, but I've thrown up a couple of stinkers this year.
So probably, I was going to say the most disappointing loss for Essendon. I feel like because they were back on track and they changed for their supporters, I feel like this one was a really bad one. It kind of got ripped apart in the third quarter where they did the damage. Pendles had a massive one, 11 disposals, 6 score involvements and a goal in the third quarter alone. So he really took them to the sword. For the game, Pendlebury had 40 disposals, 2 goals, 18 score involvements.
I think it was 43. I think you robbed him of 3.
43 was it? I had him down for 40 here.
This is his personal best.
I might have been doing that while the game was still on.
Yeah,
then he got 3 more. It's led to a lot of, I suppose, conversation around Pendlebury and his status in the game as the greatest player of all time, which is funny. I think he was up for that sort of conversation, or the greatest Collingwood player of all time anyway, but I don't really know why this game changed that.
No, I suppose not. Maybe just the fact that he's doing it so deep into his career.
Yeah.
As far as longevity and consistency of performance over an extended period of time, like Boomer Harvey was pretty good up until his last game, but Pendlebury might be the guy.
He might be the guy. I feel like this was kind of one out of the bag though. Like he hasn't been playing to this level.
No.
Consistently.
I don't think he's had that much time on ground. I forget.
Yeah.
Like I think he's been protected a little bit, and I think they let him run loose. But Essendon also allowed him an acre of space in this game.
Wow.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought put into Scott Pendlebury, I don't think.
Yeah, they were incredibly bad in this game. And another player that got a lot of the ball was Archie Roberts. He had 25 disposals to halftime. Is Archie Roberts... I don't know. I feel like he's the most polarizing player on the stat sheet. Some people think he's a massive stat padder, and a lot of Essendon fans, this is even within the supporter base. So some Essendon fans think he's a stat padder and almost like he's not even good enough to be in the team, and others think he's absolutely killing it. I'm probably somewhere in the middle.
I think he's a good player. I don't think the 42 or whatever he had, which by the way, this is the first time I think that 3 players have had 40 in a game, I believe. Anyway.
Essendon will do that.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think it's the game style, as you're alluding to, lends itself to that. I don't think he's a bad player. However, I think it's telling that he was rated the 30th best player on the ground.
Was he really?
Yeah, that's on Wheelo. So that does produce weird results sometimes.
Well, so Wheelo's champion data though.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, but even that produces some quirky results. There's another one that we'll get to, like against Brisbane. Jordan Dawson was rated distantly the best player on the field, which I think distantly is a stretch. But anyway.
Yeah, sure.
30th on ground. And if you look at his numbers, like very few contested possessions, 94% in the back half, mostly in the back
handball
pocket.
receives, and they overpossess the ball in the back half.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily progress it very well.
That's right. And that doesn't make him a bad player because that was Essendon were hemmed in that way, and they tend to try and play that way as well. But I agree, it wasn't like he wouldn't have been close to a medal.
Did you feel like at the moment with Essendon, do you think they're putting out, are they doing this rebuild in the most optimal way with playing, like I think Roby's playing off a half forward flank, Dyson Sharp's playing off a half forward flank. Is it better to get games into those younger players just period? Or do you think when they're not playing their primary position, like I look at someone like a Dyson Sharp, who I feel is very much kind of like a one-dimensional midfielder. Like he doesn't really have that scope to play in a lot of different positions. He needs to be if he's playing, he needs to be in the midfield. Do you think it's better for their development to do this, or that can hurt them?
I think there's a balanced approach to give you a really vanilla answer. I do think with Dyson, though, he is someone you'd probably put in more in the centre. I also think that of Jagger, which we're seeing that a little bit at Carlton as well.
Completely agree.
Sully Roby, though, is the sort of player who is genuinely a 2-position player that I think he can play as a forward, particularly in his case. He's coming off a limited preseason. But in general, I think if players can play 2 positions, sure. Dyson Sheppel.
Dyson Sheppel. I love that. It's a huge shot.
Oh, there's your merch. Dyson Sheppel. They're both called Dyson. Ricky Dyson. Square peg, round hole. Playing him at half forward, I reckon.
I completely agree.
He can play forward, but it's not really.
Yeah.
It's not what I would do.
I suppose just looking at the players, and I get some of these as statements. So, like, out of the team at the moment, you've got Will Setterfield, Archie Perkins, Nick Cox, and Jade Gresham. So I think the argument would be like with someone like a Dyson Sharp, do you play a Gresham who's more of a specialist forward / half forward if he wants to be, move the magnets a little bit around that way? Because they've got, like if you look at their under 22 players that were on the ground on Anzac Day, Elijah Sardis, Roby, Sharp, Farrow, May, Caddy, Roberts, Daywicks and Farrow. It's a lot of under 22s. I'm not sure where they sat in the overall age.
I think just like clearly second. I think West Coast spilled really far down this week, for instance, but I think Essendon would have been clearly second.
Yeah.
So are you questioning, is that too much youth?
Too much youth. And could you make it just a few battening down the hatches decisions?
Maybe. I mean, they got pretty close to Gold Coast with a similar age profile. So I think in this game, there was like 70 games of experience per player. And I reckon against Gold Coast, it was 79. So there was some sort of drop. I don't remember off the top of my head who came in and out this week. But considering like they just had a run of good form, you can justify them going young against Collingwood. But it may be something they can tinker with. And it's good that they have the luxury of choice there.
I feel like it just can be a bit of a thing that Brad Scott falls into a little bit, where he gets really, like he starts dropping these guys that have played a lot of football, like a Perkins, for example, who, yes, he hasn't set the world alight and he's not, like he's probably never going to be that player that they want him to be, but he's a more mature body who they're choosing not to pick over. I get it if it was like one of these guys and they wanted to specifically expose somebody, but in this situation, it's just a very large amount of young players to me.
Yeah.
To be playing in this game of this magnitude.
Yeah.
77 points is kind of, particularly against Collingwood, who are probably the most experienced outfit in the AFL.
Oh, he's at 163 games on average they have in this game anyway. Spikia says, I think the examples I look at is Ed Richards, Young, Shees, get in play, footy, prove yourself, and then get midfield time. Fair enough. And Spinkscape says,
so can I just say that, like, not everything works like that for everyone too.
Yeah. Well, those guys can play multiple positions, whereas Sharp, I don't know if he is that guy.
So can I just read the comment? Where is it?
Second bottom.
Okay. Yes, right. So I think examples, look at Richards, Young, Shees. Yeah. Well, so Richards was a halfback.
As was Hayden Young.
Young was a halfback.
Sheezer was a forward. Yeah, that's true. They were all multi-positional.
Sharp, that was the catch when you bought Dyson Sharp.
Yeah.
You knew that going in.
Yeah.
He's a midfielder.
Absolutely. Spinkscapes gives a shout out to Daywicks. I think it's a great call.
Yeah.
He was very good.
Bendigo Pioneers. He's done a really good job. Missed the 2024 draft, was considered a pretty high end talent in that one. Slid, went as a rookie.
Okay. Yeah.
Repaying the faith. So
he was good. Had some good moments.
He's been exceptional. Saturday night.
I might
Tink.
Go to the bathroom. Yes, as it were.
As it were. I swear that's from Peep Show.
No, I think I just say it a lot.
As it were. Did you read the Bonk Choi? Bonk Choi says, what do you think about Collingwood prioritising having Pendlebury's record-breaking game at home rather than trying to win games? Yeah. So, okay, let's unpack this a little bit. Are they actually doing that? Or is that more of a media beat up? Because I don't know, in some ways I feel like the media are somewhat deciding when they think that should be played. I'm not 100% sure if the Pies are doing it or whether it's mainly coming from the media. That's the first thing. I guess the next question is, should they do that? I don't know. Like, I don't remember, like with, say for example, like with Boomer Harvey at North Melbourne, like I don't remember this ever being as big of a thing when it was him doing it. For some reason, this has just turned into like some all-time event, and Collingwood are almost, it feels like with the low time on ground and stuff like that, they're almost like prioritizing getting his games up. So I'm not sure if that's being driven by him. Maybe this is really, really important to Pendlebury and he really wants to break it, and the club are doing whatever they can to try to assist him to do it. I'm not sure how true that is, or whether is it just a bigger picture thing and it's a symptom where Collingwood are actually kind of saying, we think it's best for him to play the low time on ground, and a symptom of that is that it also helps him get to the record. I don't really know. The producers just put up something in front of me, some news from Mitch Cleary. Scott Pendlebury's preference is to break Brent Harvey's record at the MCG. Okay, there you go. So it's not a media beat up. Craig McRae says he's unlikely for this week off the 5-day break versus Hawthorn. Pendles would need to then miss Swans round 10 to get his wish. Okay. Or he could play reduced game time versus Hawks and do it versus... Yeah, so now I answer your question a little differently because I didn't know he'd explicitly said that. I think that's really weird. And I'm going to get Jesse to comment on this as well. We're talking about the Scott Pendlebury games record. So Collingwood and Scott Pendlebury and Craig McRae have actually come out and said they're actually going to manufacture this. They want him to play it at the MCG.
I actually don't mind it.
Really?
Yeah. Collingwood aren't going to do anything this year with all due respect. I think it's justifiable to rest the 38-year-old. I know he doesn't need it necessarily, but I don't mind it.
He's kind of been resting all year though.
Kind of. Somebody actually in the chat just came up with his TOG. I want to get back to it. I reckon it was Max Hansen, 55%, 64, 40 and injured, missed a week, 80, 79 and 83. So the last 3 weeks he has played more.
But he had a week off.
He did.
In there as well.
Yeah. I don't mind. I don't mind a bit of theatre in this case. Who are they playing at the MCG? Please don't be us. We do play them soon. Oh, shit. I think we play them soon.
He'll have to miss round 10 versus Sydney to get his wish.
Yeah, let's have a look at who's round 11. Rogie probably beat me to the punch.
Rogie. I can't actually see the chat from here right
now.
It is
us. It is us. I'll be there. Oh my God, I'll be there.
You'll be at Pendles?
Yeah, I haven't been to a game in Melbourne
Isn't there been talk that he'll wear like a gold number?
That's insane.
Like it's
but he's not even first. He's only coming second, isn't he?
Well, no, but I think that'll be for the one where he beats it, surely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that would be next year, though.
Oh, to beat the record?
I thought so. Am I tripping? Let us know in the chat, because I thought this was to beat Boomer Harvey, but I thought there was another 18 games to get to... Is it Tuck?
Oh, is it?
I don't know. Let us know in the chat. Hey, we do have a new member, as people will help us with that information. Jake Brusaski. Thank you so much. I probably butchered your name there, but thank you for becoming a member. I really appreciate you.
Oh, dear. It's an interesting one, though.
God, a record-breaking game at the G.
I don't remember Brent Harvey doing this. I don't remember the fanfare.
No.
And I'm not saying that should, because Brent Harvey didn't do it, that's what should happen. But it's interesting. Oh, clearly it's something that he really cares
everyone's
about.
saying it's this year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Harvey beat Tuck, yeah.
Ah, okay. So is Brent Harvey the number one at the moment?
Yeah.
How have I missed this?
I don't know.
I think I've just been carrying this belief.
You made me have doubt, though, when you said
I've been carrying this belief in my head without ever double-checking it. I skim read articles.
No, it's got to be number one. Otherwise,
otherwise
if he wasn't doing it for number one, that'd be...
Okay, Harvey has the record. Oh, maybe Tuck was 426 and Harvey's 432.
Harvey broke it. Okay. Yeah. I just don't remember quite the same fanfare around that.
Rogie says, see you there in round 11. Yeah, shit, I have to buy those tickets soon. There's going to be a lot of people there.
There's going to be a lot of people
I might not get to that game.
You got to work that out, man.
And we might win.
You might win, yeah.
Imagine the hilarity of that, though. It's not going to happen.
So you honestly think that they should be prioritising this because Collingwood can't, in inverted commas, do anything this year? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is a great MCG fixture.
So you reckon their season is just over?
I think they'll play finals.
Yeah, it's not over then. They can't.
No.
They can't do that.
Yeah, I know. I don't mind it too much.
I don't mind prolonging Pendlebury's career and getting the best out of him by playing him low time on ground. But I think not playing him at all
when he's fit
against Sydney in a big game.
Yeah, that's true.
Is a bit strange.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mike OX Long says standard North Melbourne tax in terms of media coverage. Probably fair.
Is that his name?
Mike Oxlong?
Say it faster. Mike OX Long. I love how that just went over your head. I love that. That was so good.
That's good stuff. We go to Saturday night. Port Adelaide defeated Geelong, probably the biggest upset of the round at Adelaide Oval. Jesse and I were talking about this on the stream on the Saturday. I think your words were no chance and Geelong by 15 goals, was it?
I think I said 10.
Yeah, you probably did. You probably didn't say 15.
In my defense, that's what should have happened.
It should have happened, and that makes you sort of right.
Yeah, when you think about it. Yeah.
13-17-95, 10-5, 60. It was a 30-point game, but it felt bigger.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I wrote down the expected score. The expected score was a 50-point margin.
Was it really?
Yeah, so it could have been more. I don't know if we have the score on the board at the moment.
If you took away
13-17 to 10-5.
That was the
final score.
And what was the expected?
I don't know, but it was a 50-point margin. But 13 goals 17 to 10 goals 5 kind of tells the story right there.
Right.
So 30 shots at goal to 15.
There it is. And the
So
Cats
I was
led
kind of
by,
right about 15. It could have been 15 goals.
It could have been
wrong teams.
It could have been. Early 15-point lead to the Cats, and then the Cats conceded 11 of the next 14 goals. Clearances was 26 to 48. I feel like this season, Geelong have had a few of these performances. You go Gold Coast round 1, you go Hawthorn round 4 wasn't necessarily a terrible performance, but I don't think they played particularly well, performance-wise. The result wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide again here in round 7. I feel like Chris Scott is the only coach in the AFL that's allowed to just go, yeah, we had a bad night. Don't worry about it.
To be fair, I do think he's been called out for that this week.
Oh, is he?
I saw on Fireball, they were questioning it a lot.
Yeah, right.
I think Kane concluded it's probably a mulligan at this point in time, but I think David King was suggesting it runs a little bit deeper, especially when there's been a couple of these in the first 7 rounds. That does seem a little high.
It does.
It is red flag area, but I think you could probably point to many, maybe not many, but in most seasons Geelong's been good. You can probably look at a howler.
They always have some howlers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just interesting because most other teams, even I reckon when Brisbane they're 2 premierships deep, they're going for a 3-peat. They get more shit when they lose. I would say.
Yeah.
For some reason when Geelong have a bad week, and you're right, for some reason they're a team that seems to consistently have these quite poor performances in a season. They'll have 3 or 4 of them and they'll pretty much be flawless for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So it's trust us.
Yeah.
But it's a weird vibe.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I suppose the answer to that will lie in what happens next. But
yeah.
I do agree. I do think, though, there's such a body of work there with Geelong that I'm probably not worried for them just yet. The numbers in this game are alarming. I don't know what happened. We know why the hit-outs blew out. It was 53 to 23, which led to the 46 to 28 clearance ratio, if you will. And Geelong's midfield, in comparison to Port's, I still thought would have had enough in the locker. Maybe not from a clearance point of view, but I don't know if even losing the hit-outs that badly should explain an 18 clearance differential.
Well, the thing is with Geelong, when they lose clearances in other games, they can always move the ball. They couldn't move the ball.
Yeah.
They couldn't get the ball out of defense.
They had a paltry 35 inside 50s.
35 inside 50s. I know, because for them, losing clearances can be a little bit normalised. And particularly when you're playing against Butters when he's in form, Horne-Francis when he's in form, there's a bit in there for them, right?
Yeah.
But they always counterpunch well.
Yeah.
They couldn't even do that in this game.
We had Jordan Sweet selling candy. He had a pretty good game, actually.
He had a really good game. That goal. Yeah,
good goal, and then set up another one to Horne-Francis. I can't remember exactly who it was.
Horne-Francis had a career game in this one.
Yeah.
34 disposals, 12 clearances, 9 score involvements, and 2 goals.
Great win for Port Adelaide.
Great
win.
win.
Much younger side too.
I want to be able to study how these results can happen. I'm not saying Port Adelaide have a terrible team on paper, but it's the performances that they've dished up this season, losing comfortably. What did they lose to North by?
47 or something like that?
47. They lost to you guys.
Yeah, at home.
How do they lose to you and then Geelong can't move the ball against them?
I know. Yeah. I mean, Geelong played horribly and West Coast played well. That was the last time we saw West Coast play well, by the way. So it's again, you sort of isolate that Eagles team versus what's transpired since. The same goes when the Eagles beat North. So I agree with the point. I don't know. I guess their best players fired in this game, the power, and it was a particularly off night for the Cats. So Port Adelaide generated 17 shots alone from their front half. That's more shots than Geelong had for the entire game, and they did that all from their front half.
Yeah,
which speaks to them not being able to get the ball out of their back half.
It just kept coming back in. How many inside 50s for the power?
58.
58. Okay.
Yeah.
Not off the chain, but sometimes that can be a little bit misleading.
Yeah.
But yeah, massive win for them.
Are they back in the mix for top 10?
Port.
Yeah. Probably not. But only if you extrapolate the form and say, okay, if they beat Geelong, they can beat other good sides.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I don't think it like eradicates.
I think to answer that question properly, you have to look at their team on paper. Did they come out at the beginning of the season and underperform based on the talent? Because they still do have some good players. And like we said, Butters, Horne-Francis, Georgiades is an absolute star. And they've got some decent key position defenders. Alia's having a really good season as well, it must be said. So
there's a new coach element too.
There's a new coach element.
I think it doesn't always work like this because Stephen King is bucking the trend, but it's not uncommon to see a poor start and then a good run of form after a little bit of gelling time.
Yeah, I think it always depends what the coach took over. I think like particularly with Stephen King, he took over a place that was pretty morbid in Melbourne, just culturally and what they'd been going through and where they were at. So I think it was easier for him to have that upward trajectory. I'm not sure Port had that with Kent Hinckley. Like it was getting stale, but they weren't as thick into that as what say Melbourne were. Yeah. So it's a bit more difficult to get the, I don't know, arousal levels up for a new coach.
Yeah, you love your questionable turns of phrase, don't you?
I really do.
I get your point there. Probably a bit more personnel change at the the Demons than there is at Port.
Yes,
I'd say from an on-field point of view.
Absolutely. Apart from kind of list clogger type.
Yeah.
Players.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. I suppose they did make moves. A few people in the chat suggesting the Power can beat the Crows next week.
It's a big showdown.
You can't rule them out after they just torched Geelong.
No,
you can't rule them out. Adelaide, I do think like showdowns though. I feel like historically the record is.
I was going to say I'd love what's the recent showdown record?
I can have a look, but I know that Adelaide started beating Port before Adelaide moved up the ladder.
Right.
Remember that one we streamed last year in this room? It was one of the first shows I did with you, and Bergman grabbed it out of the centre and kicked it long to Fogarty.
Yes,
I reckon the Crows flogged him that night.
Yes, that was that was emblematic.
I'll get some.
I want to see this. I'll have a look at the chat. Doc Durag says if we play the West Coast Eagles, no, if we play the way.
If we play like the way we played the last two games, we can win.
Yeah.
Yeah, to translate that. Okay, so 98 points Adelaide won by last time. Adelaide won the previous one by 5 points. Port won the previous one by 22 points in 24. That was before Adelaide became good.
And that was when Port Adelaide were
prelim.
Pretty strong. Yeah.
But Adelaide won the first one by 5 goals. Adelaide won the previous one by 47 and then the previous one by 5 goals. So there's a strong record there of Adelaide playing well against them regardless of ladder position.
Interesting.
We have a few sideline chats. Who's the best player with a double-barreled surname? And sideline says Wangani Millera.
Yes.
Wazza says Horne-Francis. And there's also some love for Cockatoo Collins.
Cockatoo Collins, that's a throwback. Best ever or best right now?
Best ever, probably. Is there a better player historically that's double-barreled that's better than Wangani Millera? It's very hard.
Dusty Burn-Jones.
Port Adelaide love him, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think now. That's actually...
Aaliyah.
That's not the same, Jesse.
That's not the same at all.
Yeah, it's Wangani Millera, isn't it?
Yeah.
They say Cockatoo Collins, right?
There was a shout out for him, yeah.
It's a great shout.
Yeah, a forgotten player. Not forgotten as in he wasn't good. I had forgotten about that era.
Yeah. We move on to Saturday night. Fremantle defeated Carlton at Optus Stadium, 16-7, 103 to 13-11, 89. It was a 14-point win in the end. Carlton, they hung in there. They actually won the expected score in this game.
I saw that.
Yeah, 97 to 90. They would have won this. That's incredible. But it did, to be honest, the score kind of felt like it flattered Carlton a little bit in the end.
Yeah.
Being 14 points. Freo really pulled away at the start of the last quarter is when the gap really started to open up, and then Carlton kicked some late goals. And there was probably a little bit of pressure that they were putting on Fremantle, and they would flash up to Justin Longmuir in the box, and he looked a little bit nervous, but it didn't really look like it was ever going to.
He's a pretty expressionless man. You did well to detect that, Dylan. Sorry, we do have a few hyphenated names suggested. Collier Dawkins, LDU, Roberts Thompson, good call.
Yep.
Jared Oakley-Nichols, the West Coast legend. I don't think he played an AFL game for us.
I remember Jared Oakley-Nichols. He was a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Yep. Drafted to Richmond.
Yeah, drafted to Richmond, then brief stint on Eagles rookie list.
Molesey Smith, I don't know that one.
He's a Richmond as well. Sky Blue Falcons says I look like Connor Nash. I get that a little bit.
You get that so consistently. Even you say it about yourself.
I don't say it about myself, Dylan. That is not me all over.
That is not me all over. So one thing I found really funny about this game was Carlton have been so criticised about how stoppage dominant they are as a team. So it was almost like they came out at the beginning of this game and deliberately lost stoppage. I pulled up the screen.
That would help.
It was 0-12. It's like they can't criticise us if we don't win them.
Yeah. You screenshotted that to me. You sent, there's no chance Port Adelaide win. And then you sent me the score. And then you sent, because that was a reference to what I'd said. And I said, well, I think we both said about Carlton, they'll win the stoppages early and then eventually get overrun. And then you sent me a screenshot of 12 clearances to 0. I was having a bad day.
We don't do predictions.
Yeah. No,
very well.
Yeah, no, not very well.
What was fascinating about that clearance domination, though, Freo weren't really able to outscore Carlton. They generated 9 scores to 10. So they lost the scoring element, albeit they won raw stoppage.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a bit of a trend with Freo. They don't necessarily get it on the board. I think it was like 2 years ago, their raw clearance differential, it was one of the best that we'd ever seen recorded.
Yeah, 24, I reckon.
They still weren't a big scores from stoppage team.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't necessarily mean anything because you don't have to absolutely have this like pure breakaway clearance.
Yep.
And generate a shot. You can just get the territory right and go again. But it's sort of interesting. It would suggest that they don't necessarily get the best exits.
Yeah, agreed. One other thing I thought was interesting about this game, Carlton had a better transition profile. So they had a better frequency of D50 to forward 50, a better rate of getting the ball from their defensive 50 to the forward 50 than Fremantle, and a better defensive 50 to score rating as well. So for everything that we said that's right and wrong about Carlton, the opposite kind of happened in this game. They didn't dominate from stoppage, but they moved the ball in theory better than they ever have.
It's funny, like it kind of feels to me, you know that scene from Happy Gilmore where like Shooter McGavin goes.
I haven't seen it. You don't know Star Wars.
Happy Gilmore though.
Star Wars. What do you reckon did better at the box office?
I've seen Star Wars though. I just can't remember all the bits.
You don't remember the quotes. You're not a real fan.
There's a scene though where Shooter McGavin's like, he can't hit the ball as far as Happy, so he's going and like practicing and like trying to run up and do a big swing to hit the ball further.
Oh, okay.
And he can't do it and he keeps missing the ball. And I feel like that's Carlton trying to work on their transition game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the 14 points that separated them were from stoppage in this game. It's just not the way you expect that game to be decided.
It isn't. I had a thought during this game watching Adam Chera play.
Okay.
I think he's really not digressed. Like he just hasn't become after I think
regressed.
A pretty good. He's regressed. Yeah, he had a good start at Carlton, and it looked like he was kind of moving to being like a top level elite midfielder. Just never really happened. If he'd have stayed at Freo, what would be of Adam Chera? Do you think it would be different, or do you think
he'd be in the midfield?
You just think he would have got kicked out? But that's
a great question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, who would he displace right now in Fremantle's
Well, no
midfield?
one right now because you're judging the Carlton Adam Chera.
Yeah,
but
maybe they don't use Young as a midfielder.
Maybe they
never experiment with that.
Never experiment. Yeah,
God.
And maybe he's an elite All-Australian halfback flanker and he hasn't had the injuries.
And Jai Omis is kicking bags for Carlton.
Yeah. I don't know. It just crossed my mind.
Yeah,
he had 66% CBAs, Chera, 21 disposals, 260 metres gained, just the 5 score involvements, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he was kind of one of the great white hopes of Fremantle for a while there, but they've had new and better players emerge. Yeah, sick. What do you think of Freo in this game? I think they just have done what they've done all year and just had moments of brilliance and controlled surges. Luke Jackson, a couple of goals out of the centre, one big one and then another one where he was involved in a chain. Shea Bolton also had a monstrous game. Cruising, Fremantle.
They're cruising. You can't really criticise them at all for not winning by enough. No. I think you do what you need to do.
Bank 4 points.
Yep. And there's
especially against a bogey team, which Carlton have been.
Yeah. There's some parallels to last year, I suppose. Like I do still, like even this game, which was against a weaker opposition at home. I feel like they they still needed to. They kept them in it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they had to kind of turn on their beast mode, but they're able to do it when they need to do it. So
Yeah, exactly. And they're good against good teams, Fremantle.
they're good
So I
against
think-
good teams. They're always competitive.
Yeah.
And they just, I suppose, like they need to be able to find, in those big moments, they need to be able to find those players. And Shea Bolton looks more comfortable
Yep.
this year, I think.
Tracy has been that player too, in general.
Tracy's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
Sarong, and guys like Sarong and Brayshaw, they're just unbelievably consistent. I think still the wild card remains Hayden Young, doesn't it? Like if he can string it together, get his body right, they've kind of got a different dynamic in the midfield as well.
Totally. Yeah, there's not too many weak links in that team, Fremantle. I think they bank the 4 points, move on, and they've got the Bulldogs at a great time next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tracy's going to...
They should kill him.
How many will Tracy kick?
5.
Only 5?
Yeah. He's not a big goal kicker. I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of is, but it's not like he hasn't kicked a big bag before, which doesn't mean he won't now.
Plays on him. Gardner?
Buku.
Karmas can't play on
No,
Tracy.
no. I couldn't name a single other Bulldogs defender now that O'Donnell and Lobb are out.
That's...
Or Buslinger.
Oh, yeah, the bus.
Yeah, no, none of them are great matchups for him.
Yeah, that's not good. That is really, really not good. Okay, so we move on to the big one, Jesse.
I believe this game was cancelled.
Are you ready for this?
Never.
You don't feel ready.
No.
You don't smell ready. St Kilda versus West Coast. This was at Marvel. I didn't write that down.
It is a marvel.
It wasn't Marvel, yeah. 22-11, 143 to 5-12-42, a 101 point
Score.
win to St Kilda. It was West Coast's second 100-point loss for the season.
Was it?
And I think you had a stat that you posted on Instagram.
I think I shared that stat from which you screenshotted and sent to me.
Yeah, by mistake.
I reshared Footy on 9, I think.
Yeah.
Posted, I actually don't remember the stat off the top of my head. I think it's like 16 100-point losses have happened in the last 5 years and West Coast had 9 of them. Or, no, West Coast have had 9 in the last 5 years and the rest of the competition combined have had 7. Which I think is exactly the same thing. Now I think about it. And then I shared it and then you screenshot and you're like, have you seen this? Sick, man.
Oh, I actually did do that.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, sometimes when you're just like, you're on an autopilot in your social media, and that's what happened.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, this Jesse will like this.
I believe you. Yeah.
I swear. Ross Lyon said there's bigger challenges in the AFL.
Then West Coast.
I assume that's what he meant.
Fair.
He basically was saying like we shouldn't get too carried away with this.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Fair.
I'm just going to let that hang. Yeah.
Like the bad smell that it is.
We do like our Star Wars references. I have been running one this week or today.
Which is?
Soon we will have a new pick one far stronger and more powerful. These are the Palpatine hands for anyone who hasn't seen it. Great quote. Great reference.
I feel so uncomfortable right
yeah,
now.
I know the Palpatine thing is confronting if you're not a fan. Maybe even if you are. But yeah.
That reminded me of like the feisty one you are.
Yeah. There's a lot of Palpatine hands in my household.
Oh, we're going super rogue here.
I'm deflecting from the game.
Yeah, I can see that. What I actually wanted to ask you is, I watched your review and you seemed particularly moody about this game.
Don't recall.
You were particularly moody about this game, and I wanted to ask, is it the opposition why it hurts so much?
Yeah, I do think, though, it's also the fact that it's happened twice in a month and we should be past this. I think regardless of the opposition, that is an element to it, though, right? Like you can come up with some, maybe not excuses, but you can come up with some context. Okay, the last 3 weeks, maybe Sydney got us on a really bad night, right? And that is the difference between us at our worst and them. And then you play Geelong and Fremantle, and we were okay against Geelong, maybe less so against Fremantle, and you're like, phew, deep breath. We got through those 3 weeks, maybe not unscathed.
For this moment, though.
To come up against St Kilda, a team rated far lower, with all due respect, they're a wildcard chance, right?
Yep.
And then to get so mercilessly beaten. I thought they were off from the outset, West Coast, from a skills point of view, but then if you watch the first 3 quarters and stop watching, you'd think, okay, West Coast were bad and not terrible. They're just the usual bad. But the last quarter in particular, seeing that drop off of effort was very disappointing. And I released that pretty scathing review on True Eagle, and then a lot of the comments, I normally get picked up for being too negative if I do trend that way, and no one has disagreed with me as far as I can tell in terms of the tone. So
I have a question, because I've watched, I don't watch every West Coast game religiously or Richmond games. You two probably stand out this season as the worst two teams in the comp. And I think Richmond, because they haven't won a game, they've probably copped it the most for the media loves to use those phrases like, is this the worst team we've ever seen, or that kind of stuff. Why does your floor to me feel worse than theirs?
It's a good question.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't, there's been 200-point losses this year and they were both us. I can't.
Yeah.
I can imagine
But
Richmond
that St Kilda game, it wasn't
but
actually just the margin, because I was watching it in the first quarter when you don't really know what the margin's going to be. And you're like, this is just terrible. They're kicking, they kicked 2 goals from kick-in, which is just horrendous in general. But one of them, it was early in the first quarter. Like there's no fatigue factor at that point.
Yeah.
It's purely concentration. They kicked like a 60-metre ball up the middle of the ground, took an uncontested mark, a handball received to a defender running past, kicked it long inside 50 to an uncontested mark, and then kicked a goal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's no excuses for that lack of discipline from West Coast. I can handle poor skill displays because I have to, because that's as good as it gets when the effort is there. And I felt like it was there for periods of this game, say for a few moments of that. I do wonder when your scoring efficiency is so poor that you're just demoralised when you look up and see 1 goal 8, or I don't know what it was in this game. I think we were similar to that at halftime, like 1 goal 6 or 1 goal 8. The scores per inside 50 for West Coast, the AFL average is 46, and this week it was 35%. Last week it was 31. The week before that, I think it was a bit better against Geelong, and then 33% against Sydney.
So it just keeps getting worse.
Just banging the ball inside 50 and no talent, no forward presence. And then when we do get opportunities, we miss. That number doesn't capture behinds versus goals either. That's just pure scores. That leads to this demoralising effect. And I still don't give them any excuse, but I think that's part of what's happening here.
I did notice you guys were real. I don't know if this is something you've picked up from watching the team, but like you do hammer the pockets quite a lot when you go inside 50. So it's those deep, high, long balls to the pocket, which either get marked or smashed over the line instantly. It does give you that protection as with the other team trying to run the ball out. Yeah.
Well, we have I would say we do have some quality. Like Jake Waterman's a quality player. I think the strategy is to force forward 50 stoppages and trap the ball inside our 50 and get repeat looks, but we're just diabolically shit at that.
It's hard when one of your better players in their prime is Jake Waterman, who's a key forward, who can't really help you further up the ground.
Doesn't help at all. There's Spoon Bowl this week, I reckon. And I actually think West Coast are most likely to win the Spoon now.
Yeah, that's a big call.
It is, but I reckon we've had our fun. I reckon we got our 8 points and we're skipping off to the market. See a little piggy.
It feels areas.
I don't know what I'm saying.
This feels areas of, I think it was 2022 for North Melbourne.
Okay.
We won our first 2 games against West Coast and Freo.
23, that was?
That was 23, right.
Yeah.
First 2 games of the season, a lot of optimism after that. And that was early in the Clarko tenure.
Yes.
And then that was it.
I think you beat Gold Coast in the final round with Larky kicking 9.
Oh, of course, because it was the Harley Reid.
Yeah.
It was it until then.
Yeah.
But we thought that at that point, we thought things were changing.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine there's an element of you guys thinking that with the wins to North and then Port Adelaide.
We had the same thing with in 24. We beat Fremantle massively, beat Richmond, and then beat Melbourne. Harley Reid kicks goal of the year. We think everything has changed and it's a false dawn like this was. Some of the kids were good, as Spinks Gates points out, Lindsay, Dersman, Reid. So those are the small silver linings, which are important. But yeah, I think this game might decide the Spoon this weekend.
It's going to be a massive one.
We're live streaming it here on the True Footy YouTube channel and on Sideline FM, which we are currently on.
It's got real draft battle written all over it too. It's like those younger players. Everyone's going to be watching them up against each other to see.
Yes, everyone.
Everyone. No, but like I think the AFL world is interested in that. Like who was a better number 1 pick? Was it Willem Dersma? Was it Sam Lawler?
Yeah, you have 3 playing in this game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's got the best young talent? Who's got the better youth points?
Yeah, that's right. That's the question on everyone's lips.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben says that Jesse, as an Eagles fan, I don't really know who to put my blame on from 2018 to now. Who do you think are the main culprits? We always hear about Simpson, but I think you would be more educated on the topic. I'm not sure about that. I think when you're looking at such a long time period, it's a bit of everything. Yeah, there was definitely a failure to see it coming, no doubt. The list was in bad shape. I think the injury crisis exacerbated that and just made that even harder to navigate. So the talent was more exposed, which means that for years we copped beatings of 100 points, etc. But a lot of the players that played in those games are gone. So we beat St Kilda last year. Only 11 players from that game played in this one. And the year before that, St Kilda beat us by 12 goals. Only 6 players that day. There's been so much turnover. The team's gotten younger. It has never been as young as it is now. So
it shows you that where you are in the rebuild too. That you're actually, when you probably thought that you were starting the rebuild, you weren't.
Yeah, it depends how you define rebuild.
Yeah.
But yes, we're only just starting to get the pieces on the park, so to speak. But anyway, diabolical.
My last question about West Coast. I have this prevailing feeling that when, I was watching Milan Murdoch, who had a decent game yesterday, but I feel like he's declining. It felt like a declining performance from what he'd done earlier in the season already. Like the energy that he played with there wasn't there yesterday. And whether that's his teammates or just the general phase of that game was kind of rubbing off on him and it just didn't feel like a high energy game.
Maybe. I wouldn't say I had the same observation. He still had 20 possessions and 7 marks. But he also missed a lot of the games this year where we played really badly. So there's this element of that's the worst loss he's played in. Yeah. So it's a little bit harder to look good. But
I suppose my thing is like from the outside, the longer it feels like players go to West Coast,
the worse they get.
Yeah. Which is a worry.
It is a worry. Hopefully that's just a product of being super young and I don't know. The youth doesn't explain the margin in this game. But yeah.
Yeah. Willem Dersma now leading the odds for the Rising Star. He's the favourite. So. Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about St Kilda. Obviously, we're in this loop where anyone who plays West Coast, we don't learn anything about them. But Hugo Garcia had a career best game. Cooper Sharman also was a problem for us as well. I thought he did okay. He missed a few early, but he was hard.
Sharman's a weird player. He's weird.
Hard to stop. The rest of that sentence.
In this game, you could sort of see it early that he identified that Sandy Brock wasn't going to be able to go with him. Yeah. And he just took advantage of it. And he can have a big day out against those players. But earlier in the season, I feel like he hasn't been marking the ball cleanly at all. But he does, he is a bit of a handful as a key position forward. He seems to be able to get separation pretty well. But he just makes errors.
If anyone who missed that, my voice broke while groaning.
It's always worse when it's not in the mid-sentence. It was actually...
I hope the mic didn't pick that up too loudly. Ruin the flow.
Price.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saints are a hard read, aren't they? A lot of new players in that team. I still feel the midfield mix, they're trying to figure out what it is. Windhager's probably in there. I feel Flanders is probably a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
Overall for the
Possibly.
Saints.
You know who was great though? Liam Ryan. Considering he also copped a massive knee to the hip pointer.
He did.
And then he came back on.
He had a couple of big collisions in the first quarter.
He's actually a tough guy, to be fair to him. But it does lend the question, not to bring it back to West Coast, but why the hell did they trade him? Yeah. They got nothing out of it. The future second they received, they then burned for the Josh Lindsay thing, which I suppose they needed to spend it to get Josh Lindsay perhaps, but it's not an asset they currently hold. And but also why? Why get rid of him?
He was a good culture guy too, right?
Yeah, and one of our better players. And we lack quality in the front half, which is only exacerbated this year.
Sometimes it feels like West Coast, players just want to do things and they just go, clubs, players, it's
Well, at least with Barris and Allen, we got a lot back. But with Liam, that was just right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, hopefully we'll get something for it. But
I suppose you're trying to appease the player, but at some point you have to protect the club, right?
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a real nothing trade and West Coast deserved to get pounded by Liam Ryan specifically.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to bring up on St Kilda is Max King played VFL.
Oh, yes.
Very modest kind of, I suppose, output, 4 disposals, 1 mark and kicked a point, I think, for the game. But he's played. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he gets back into the senior team.
Yep.
And I suppose like whether re-injury happens, but interesting.
Yeah. No, timely recall.
Absolutely. We have the Sunday games. Well, that was
the first of
Sunday
them?
game. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry. I've
It's quite all right.
stuffed up my notes again. So Brisbane defeated Adelaide 19-13, 127 to 11, 975, a 52-point win over the Crows. It was a bit of a cagey first quarter, this one, 4 goals apiece. And then Brisbane went bang.
I think 7 in a row.
7 in a row. I think that's right. 75 to 23 in quarters 2 and 3. So that's when they ripped the game apart.
Yeah, that was the margin.
Yeah.
In the end, 75.
Yes,
52
yeah, that's
points,
right.
yeah.
I think Adelaide might have won the last quarter slightly.
Yeah, gotcha. Neil, 42.
Yeah, there's some big
numbers in this
dozzy
game.
games in this one.
Yeah, Ashcroft, 36. Cameron had 4 goals. Zach Bailey, 12 score involvements, 7 clearances, 25 disposals, and 3 goals. But Jordan Dawson was distantly rated the highest rated player. He was great. Give him a shout out as well, just for, like, I didn't expect him to play in this game, let alone play really well. It would have been
goals too, didn't he?
kicked a couple.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah,
it was good to see him back on the park. Obviously emotional after the result, but
I just think you don't want to. We said it last week. You don't want to get Brisbane after a couple of losses
yeah,
because when they have to win, they just win.
yeah, exactly.
This reminded me of you remember last year late, and they obviously didn't need to win this game as much as they needed to win this game that I'm talking about. But against Freo, they had to go over to Perth to guarantee top 4 status, and they just went over and they just win by like 7 goals.
Talking about Brisbane, I was thinking about Adelaide.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, when the hell did that happen? Yes, that was last year. Yeah,
Last
I'm with
year,
you.
yeah. But they just, I don't know, like they just when they have to win, they win.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're still the most dangerous team in the competition to me. They won. They
Totally
scored
agree.
32-2 from centre bounce in this game.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see Lincoln McCarthy was trialled as a small defender?
He was tried as a small
Did a
defender.
pretty good job, actually.
He was marking back there too.
Well, we talked about needing a small defender. You raised the point they lost Starcevic. And,
Yeah.
maybe needing a player of that for that position, right?
They got Leicester, but yeah, they probably just needed
Yeah.
someone to come in and losing Archie as well, who
Yep.
generally played as a small forward later in his time at Brisbane, but he did play a little bit back there as well as like a rebounding defender as well. So yeah.
True.
Who is Brisbane's best player?
Oscar Allen. No, I'm joking.
I know.
He's actually playing pretty well.
I love that you had to tell me you were joking. I'm like, really? You think that?
My mind went to McCluggage first, but it could be Ashcroft by the end of the year. No, it might be Zach Bailey.
I think it's Zach Bailey.
Yeah, no, I had to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach Bailey.
I think I'd go. I meet you with McCluggage. I think Bailey 1, McCluggage 2, Harris Andrews 3.
I just forgot. I was not prompted for that question.
Where would Harris Andrews be? Is that fair to have him 3? Maybe he's higher.
Yeah, he could
He's
be
more
2.
important.
He could be 1.
He could be.
He could be 1, to be honest. Yeah.
I don't know. Zach Bailey's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Like that. I think
Andrews is reigning All-Australian backman, so it's not as though he's fluctuated either.
Bailey was All-Australian last year though.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And McCluggage was too.
Yes.
So whatever. Interesting. Yeah. So Brisbane are going to be fine.
Yeah, that's our conclusion.
They will be. I don't know. They're a tough one to read. They've won 2 premierships in a row. They rarely lose when there's a game on the line. And they're just going to get it done. Adelaide's a bit of a different situation. I feel like they're in a bit of a precarious point at the moment.
They failed the test. They needed to get closer than they did. I thought their pressure was average, fumbled a lot, and their skills were average, and there's still the midfield question begging.
I feel like there's a part psychologically with Adelaide where they don't really... They had that bounce back season. They finished top of the ladder and then they get knocked out in straight sets. I don't think they think they're good enough. I think they need to somehow build belief that's hard to be able to manufacture like at this point in a season.
Maybe they'll steal Brisbane's best player. That could be one way to fix their team.
Bailey.
Yeah, at the end of the
Do
year.
you mean their 3rd best player?
Oh, yeah, true. A little tricky.
Yeah. I mean, they could. That would be a big boon for them. Do you think, we talked about it before, did you have them tipped to win the showdown?
I think they'll win the showdown.
I think
I didn't hear that. He whispered it so gently.
because I didn't want people to hear. I think Port might win.
Yeah, I don't want to get seduced by one good game. I think the Crows win.
Okay.
The Crows have a point to prove too.
I think I'm going to go. When is that game? Friday.
I don't know off the top of my head. Let us know in the chat.
Last game of the round, Jesse.
Oh, I do. I just want to point out we do have Dan Curtin return to the Sandful. So we're, in terms of looking for spark, 17 disposals and 4 clearances. And Sid Draper has also put in a little bit of a body of work. He did miss a lot of the preseason, I think, with a groin. Averaging 19 disposals in the Sandful, and surely can't be too far off a recall. So hopefully these guys get back and play their best footy.
I'm so surprised how little football Sid Draper's played.
Yeah, so am I. I thought he was pretty ready-made to come, like as he joined the club.
He was. He played a lot of senior football, and even last year in the sub appearances that he had, I thought he looked ready to go.
It would probably be nice to see him dominate the Sandful. As I said, only 19 disposals, but you'd think some of that would be limited minutes this year.
Yeah,
like some of that at the start.
He's never been a super heavy disposal guy.
Yeah,
like he wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
He wasn't getting like 30 plus every week.
Yeah,
back in the under 18s and stuff. He's more of a bit more of a damage per disposal kind of guy, just with his pace and explosivity.
Yeah.
GWS defeated North Melbourne 15-15, 105 to 14-14, 98, a 7-point win for the Giants. The Kangaroos tried really, really hard, but ultimately were fucked over by the Ark.
I'll eat some humble pie here. I thought you'd get slaughtered in this game, and North Melbourne played really well.
You had a bad week.
I did. Well, I said 29 in the just the
29.
tips, but then I did privately think might be more than that.
Yeah.
But I thought North Melbourne getting as close as they did in this game, given GWS had some key players back, albeit not all of them, does show their growth. They were also the more experienced side in the game, which I thought was an interesting stat.
North were they?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and pretty close in age. But that being said, the Giants aren't the profile of a team right in contention. They're also in transition too.
I felt I reckon this was the best outfit that the Giants had on the park.
Oh, that little orange one with the charcoal shorts.
Yeah. No, I mean from a personnel point of view. So Cadman back.
Sure.
They had Hogan in the team. Toby Green's obviously there. I mean, he's been there for most of the season. They're probably still down a couple of key defenders, aren't they? Taylor's not there.
Yeah. Yep.
But Buckley was there, for example. So they're still a really intriguing one to me, the Giants. Like at the beginning of this game, I reckon if we were a little bit more clinical and we were able just to put a few finishing touches on the game, we could have been well ahead at quarter time. They were really slow out of the blocks. We absolutely dominated them from clearance at the start of this game, which I sort of expected with Tristan Sherry.
Yeah, big inclusions, him and Foss coming back.
Him and Foss coming back was massive for us, and Foss had another really good game. He's putting together a good season, but we were right on top of them. We just weren't really able to put it on the scoreboard. We'd make, and it wasn't even like a scoring shot that would miss. Like we weren't putting it on the points board to show our kind of dominance. We were just like, it'd be just that last kick inside 50, something wouldn't go well. And then they transitioned the ball really, really well from their back half. So I think we led at quarter time by 10 or so points, and it really should have been more than that.
Yeah.
And then I just could kind of see where this was going the entire game. They stayed close at the beginning, then they got ahead, and we were sort of like goal for goal. They'd stay like 2 goals up, 1 goal, 2 goals. I'm like, we're just going to lose by about a goal.
You didn't go away though.
We didn't go away.
Which is something you might have done historically.
100%.
But let's cut right to the chase here, Dylan.
Yep.
We have Raging Rhino saying robbed. Not very super coach says people saying robbed are just wrong. Was fucked though. Raging Rhino says, and Darling not getting hold of the ball was ridiculous.
That was actually worse.
I didn't see that.
That was worse.
Yeah,
that was the biggest holding the ball inside 50.
Maybe I saw it and forgot it. I forget.
Oh, he just dropped it. I can't remember which Giants player it was. Might have been Thomas, was it? Maybe Thomas? I can't remember.
Yeah.
So Whitfield. I think it was Whitfield.
Oh, okay.
Just dropped it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did see that. Yep.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Yeah. So we're talking the touch thing.
That was absurd, yeah.
The arc.
Yeah. So Griffin Logue thumped the ball over for a behind.
Basically. I mean, he clearly touched it, didn't he?
Yeah.
So what did they call it in real time? A goal?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
So I presume they didn't review it, did they?
Oh, I thought they did review it.
They did. Sorry, I'll let you take over. I'm patchy with my memory of it. You're right. They did review it and got it wrong.
And just said that it didn't.
I think so.
Yeah. So, again, it's just kind of beggars belief. Like, why do you have that system that slows the game down to then get the wrong result anyway?
Yeah, I know.
So whatever. But I don't know. Did it cost us the game? Did we lose the game because of this one moment? No, I don't think it's really ever that simple. But it's frustrating and it pisses me off.
Yeah, Oh, absolutely. Especially when it's contentious. It could have cost the game. When it's over a 6-point margin, you start to think, maybe not, but it could have.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating.
At the end of the day, we're our own worst enemy. I think, like I said, when you've been a weaker team, like I feel like North have this consistent thing with punishing the opposition, and watching it feels like North get in front, and as soon as they get in front, they think they're fine. That's what it feels like. Like I know it's a little bit more complicated than that, and there's fatigue, but they always feel like they let you in. I feel like we've had some performances this season that have been better with that, like the Port Adelaide game where we just kind of kicked away.
Yeah,
it was like more of a complete performance, and then other performances we've had a bit more disjointed and periods where we've had dominance.
Well, you got well ahead of the Eagles in Perth. I think it was 5 goals.
Yes.
So then obviously the tide turned.
Coughed it up. I mean, the Carlton game, we actually trailed for most of the middle part of the Carlton game and then came back and won it. So the Port game was the 4-quarter performance. This one, I think, against stronger opposition, because I think this is the best team other than Brisbane, who we sort of stayed with. Like, this is the best team that we've kind of gone with, but we're still not good enough, are we?
No.
And you look at our next fixtures coming up. Our next 5, Cats, Swans, Crows, Suns, Dockers. They're probably all better than the Giants.
That's true.
So if you wanted to win and get one down, you had to take this one, I reckon.
Yeah, I think we discussed this last week. I think we said we looked at the next 5 fixtures and I said this will prove how far North it's come. And you said the Giants was winnable. I was like, nah. They've outperformed what I expected against the Giants, to be honest. So I think they have taken strides there. However, the clumping of the fixture here is really unfortunate. And you do hope that, we see a little bit with the Eagles right now, that run of fixtures against better opposition demoralised them.
Yeah.
Clearly. Like there has been some sort of effect on their confidence.
Yep.
And you just hope that North can withstand that. And they're better equipped to do that than West Coast.
Because we have that after this run of 5 games, I think we then run into West Coast, Richmond and Essendon.
Another loss.
Yeah.
A backflip.
But you worry about the fatigue. You worry about the fatigue factor of getting to that point. So it's going to be interesting. What do you think about North Melbourne this season?
Oh, as I said, clear strides. I think, albeit GWS are not the team they were last year, I still think they're a very damaging side. And, they kicked 10 goals from the back half in this game. So some of the things that they do best, they did well in this game too. And I think it did show the growth and maturity of North Melbourne to stay with them, albeit as well. I love the word albeit. But I suppose when you also look at the numbers, North Melbourne also do have a lot more experience than they've ever had. I think it was over 100 games of experience per player, which shows that evolution. It is a missed opportunity, but looking at how you played against the Giants, how you played against Brisbane, you can go into some of those tougher games and expect them to challenge them, if not win.
Yeah. It feels like from a fan's perspective, you can go into those games, and probably from the players' perspectives as well, those games against Brisbane's and Freos and Sydney's and Geelong, whoever we come up against, they're kind of not without relevance. Like they become more important, and we may not necessarily win the game, but it feels like the stakes have gone up a bit.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Who's your very next game?
Geelong.
Yeah.
GMHBA.
That's a tough one.
It's yucky.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe Geelong have carried over some of their own poor form, but I think they beat you by 100 last year.
Sort of similar to the Brisbane Lions, where you like the Cats after a disappointing game, like you really don't want to get them.
Yeah. What are the odds that happens 2 weeks in a row?
Yeah,
he wouldn't do it again, would he, Jeremy?
Blood in the water there for sure.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, Jesse, that is all. That's the games. Done and dusted. What a round of football.
It was fucking awesome.
It was so good.
I hate football.
There's a lot of big margins.
Oh, was there?
To be honest.
I don't recall.
I don't know if you noticed that. Okay,
No.
So Collingwood and Hawthorn, huge game
Oh, yeah.
Thursday night at the MCG.
Yep.
That's a bit of a banana skin for the Hawks.
Yeah.
They do like playing.
I think they'll be
Pies.
fine, but yeah, Collingwood obviously just re-emerged as a team you can't write off, which I probably had threatened to do.
By beating Essendon.
By pantsing them. I didn't think they had a massive score like that in them.
No.
They're clearly not completely
I don't know.
useless.
I think we might be over-egging them smashing Essendon a bit.
I'm just saying that I had probably started to give up on them too early.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're a top
So
six
Col-
chance.
Collingwood are back in the finals race. Scott Pendlebury's the best player of all time, solely off this Essendon game. It feels kind of wrong.
Fair. No, I don't think Hawthorn kill them though.
Fair enough. Friday, Western Bulldogs and the Darkers,
Freo should win it easily.
even at Marvel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
They beat them there in late last year.
That's right. Yeah.
Adelaide and Port, you're tipping Adelaide.
Yeah, not a simple tip, but I think Adelaide win.
Yep.
Too much quality.
Essendon, Brisbane.
Where is it? Marvel?
Jack Nicholson.
Which
or
way
Meg
is the wind
Ryan.
going? Will Archie Perkins be fit?
Yeah, he will.
I will say Brisbane should. Well, I actually don't know. I reckon that game will be closer.
Do it again.
No,
You did it
I'm
last-
not tipping Essendon, but I think Essendon play Brisbane well, based on a
Really?
couple of games from my memory that happened. They won't win.
You're like, I remember back the 2001 grand final.
Where Brisbane won anyway.
Yeah. They're paying $6.70. So if you think they'll win,
670.
$6.70. West Coast versus Richmond.
Richmond by plenty.
You guys are $1.40 favourites.
That's fucked. Read a book, sports bet.
Read a book. Oh, fuck off. Just
Richmond by 42, I reckon.
42.
Counted them myself. Oh, wait, no, that's 36. 42 is the meaning of life.
What's
A
that?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Miscusey. Okay, Geelong versus North Melbourne. GMHBA.
Geelong in a thriller. Nah, by plenty.
Carlton St Kilda.
That's a stinky one.
That's
I don't know. I mean, Secure the better team.
Yeah.
But can Carlton beat them? Yes.
Yeah, they can. It can.
Airstainer has just become a TF supporter. Thank you so much for joining as a member. Really appreciate your support, Airstainer.
Oh, Lewis is on too.
Oh, g'day, Lewis.
G'day,
Welcome
boys.
back,
Just
another member
joined
of
the
the channel.
live stream. Welcome aboard, mate.
Probably St Kilda.
Probably St Kilda.
Yeah, they'll outlast them, if nothing else.
12th versus 16th, that one.
Mm.
And then we have Sydney. This is on the Sunday. Sydney versus Melbourne at the SCG.
At the SCG, you'd back in the Swans.
And at the MCG, you probably still would too. But
Ooh.
would you?
Melbourne haven't lost there yet. They're looking pretty damn good.
No, I know, but
It's not a simple tip if it's the MCG.
no, it's not.
No, Sydney will win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, again, I go off the odds here, but Melbourne are paying $5.
Wow. That's very unflattering to them.
North are closer in odds to Geelong.
Wow.
than
See, I think
Melbourne.
Melbourne's a much better chance of winning than North are at GMHBA, just because North's recent form at that ground has been horrific.
Horrific, yeah. But you did say that against the Giants. Just saying.
I did say that against the Giants. That's true.
Gold Coast Suns versus the GWS Giants at People First Stadium. I think this is tricky.
Who was Gold Coast? Oh, yeah. So Gold Coast lost to the Giants twice last year,
Yeah.
but went deeper in the season.
And they went deeper in the season. Because
lost
they
an
won a
extra
final.
one.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, but the Giant, I feel like those games were both close too, weren't they?
Somewhat. I don't remember 3 or 4 goals, maybe.
Somewhat.
Like, I don't think they were thrillers. I think
Yep.
they were just 3 or 4 goal wins off the top of my
okay.
head. You'd go the home team, but I think there's upset potential there.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's got an ambush written all over it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it yet.
Just the tips coming out on Wednesday.
24 hours from now.
24 hours from now, just the tips. Get it. I reckon there's going to be some sneaky changes in there from you as well.
Tipping West Coast by 10 goals.
Exactly. Rogie has just given us a super chat as well. Thank you so much, Rogie Riot. Anzac Day aside, my highlight of the week was Bobby Hill's return to the VFL. His skills looked electric. I want the world for Bobby.
I
Great
didn't
call.
know that he played in the VFL.
I did know that he was coming back, but I
Okay.
haven't seen any of the footage of him playing.
Thank you
That's-
so much, by the way, Rogie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Good nugget there too.
Yeah, that is a bit of a game changer. Wow, as much as one, excuse me, one play can be. Why does it always happen like dramatically in the middle of a word? That's a big in for the Pies.
Correct. Yes. No, absolutely. If they could, we just did earlier today, we did a video on small forward lines and we got a bit stuck on Collingwood because of his absence.
Yeah, that's bad timing. I didn't realize he played on the weekend.
I did actually hear that he was coming back through the VFL,
Yeah.
but like there's clearly still a bit of ambiguity around that. That situation. He hasn't played a lot of football, has he?
No.
So it's an interesting one.
Should we just do a game day squad segment?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Game day squad. A couple of people saying, mark my words. When by a couple of people, one person said this. Mark my words, North is going to win. Let's go Roos.
That would be one of the biggest upsets of the season. But just specifically at that ground, at that opponent.
Gee, it'd be a massive statement for North Melbourne.
It would be huge. Yeah.
Be a massive one. Where are they on the ladder?
North?
They're both teams. So we're still above them.
Is that right?
We're 6th. They are 9th.
Wow.
I don't know. I do think they will win. But there is a part of me that just thinks we're going to be a lot more competitive and they're not going to be able to have their way with this like they have done in the past.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not sure they don't feel like a team right now that can just smash you.
Well, ask the Bulldogs what they think of that.
Yeah. But they're struggling, the Bulldogs.
Yeah. I don't know.
What's the Bulldogs' average losing margin in the last 4 weeks?
I don't know that off the top of my head, Dylan.
I'm merely making a point.
I agree with your point though. No, I don't think you'll get slaughtered. But I also think I wouldn't extrapolate last week for the Cats too much.
I feel like you're kind of goading me into this, but I feel like I want to tip North now.
That wasn't intentional. I just the Cats at GMHBA is a place where some teams are good and some teams are not.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
But I don't think you can take fully the baggage of past seasons in this.
Sure. I do think, though, to demonstrate my point, though, or to explain it, I would say that if this game was at Marvel, I wouldn't say you're no chance of winning.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move to our Game Day Squad segment, guys? This is a fantasy platform for which we have a league. This is the only fantasy league we are running at the moment. And with Game Day Squad, if you use the code TRUE26 when you make an account, you get extra player packs to join the competition. That's how you recruit players. So actually, before I do anything else, I think I actually have some packs. For the record, you actually get packs by being an active player. So the longer you play the game, the more players you get to recruit.
Yep.
So I'm just going to open this general ruckman that I have. I think it was a ruckman that I clicked on. Darcy Fort. Not sure if he's going to be cracking my team. I did just unpack Tristan Cherry, though. I thought that was a pretty ideal result. As we move to Nathan O'Driscoll.
Noddy.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be making the starting 23. With all due respect. Just don't like purple. Harry O'Farrell could be a good long-term one, that one. I don't know if he'd still be a good...
it is a dynasty league.
Oh, that one's not clicking for some reason. Anyway, let's move on to just here. We got 184 people in the league. This is the code. So on any given video, you can find the invite code to join the competition. That is set to the under-22s league. But if you look at the starter league, this is the overall ranking. We got maximum mastery leading. But who won this round? It was Rang 1. And where am I? I'm down somewhere really distant. We're together. 26 and 27.
Oh, wow.
Not bad. Not bad. We
Got
also
you by
have
14.
Contender League. That's TCBBBB. And that was the round winner. And Maximum Mastery is dominating that competition again. Maximum Mastery by name and by nature. Arrogant Frogs. And who's winning the round? Arrogant Frogs. I love it. So I'll just show you quickly my team for those who haven't seen it. I think this is the team we're running with this week.
Have you got
Subject
any
to
like
change.
silver players?
This is the starter competition, this
so you
particular
can't.
one, but I'll show
Yep.
you the next one. So Horn Francis had a massive one, 144. Matt Kennedy and
Did you
Zach
get Horn
Merritt.
Francis in?
By unpacking him.
Yeah, sure. But
Yeah.
what made you pick him as a starting midfielder in that game?
I don't know. I think I can't remember doing it, to be honest. Caleb Daniel, 122. Thank you very much. Naz, 143. Just get in all the players that play West Coast. Grundy has been outscoring Gore in the last couple of weeks, I reckon. So that has been unfortunate. But Rochelle also a bit of a letdown this week.
I have a
Justin
gold
McInerney.
Luke Jackson. And
Oh, wow.
and he's on the bench and he scored 178 and
Oh.
Gordon scored 104.
I'll show you my classic team. I still have heaps of salary cap left, but Lockie Ash,
I'm going to swap that.
those numbers here are in the decimal point. That's surprising. So I had Sicily on the field. That was a fail. But Tuke Miller, I have a platinum Clayton Oliver. What did he actually score? You can click on the player. Scored 146, I think, with the platinum score.
That's the times 1.3?
Yeah. Yep. Wing tag. Okay, so that's the non-rounded up number. That's interesting. Windhager also big stats pig. Rochelle, God. What did he? So he scored 72.
It's hard with the forwards.
Yeah.
The forwards are inconsistent.
But he's a midfielder too. That's really frustrating.
Yeah, true.
I need a gold Max Gorn or something. That would be nice.
Riley Thilthorpe scored me a 54.
I see.
That's
Well, there you have it, guys. I just wanted to show you my team and just shout out a few of the winners. Make sure you're part of the competitions. It'd be great to have you. You get extra playbacks if you use the code TRUE26 when you sign up. You don't have to spend any money on the app. There's nothing you have to buy. You can make in-app purchases like anything else, but it's just a free game to play. And I think it's the best fantasy platform out there, Dylan.
It's great stuff. I need to lift my game, though.
Yeah, me too, evidently. I left Sicily on in my starter team.
Got to catch
Not
the
starter team, the other one.
arrogant frogs.
Yeah.
Other benchmark in our league.
Shout
We're
out
going to
to
wrap
you.
it up, guys. I don't think there's anything else we need to get through, Jesse.
No, I think we're good. It's been a couple of hours now. Thank you for once again joining us. We will be live on Sideline FM and YouTube on Saturday for 4:15 Melbourne time, 2:15 I presume Perth time. I think that's what it is.
Yep. I'm so fucking excited for that game.
Oh, that makes one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm gonna be really up and about for that. So I can't wait for Saturday.
Okay.
We've also got some videos dropping this week. We recorded some today. What have we got, Jesse?
We have a trade rumour discussion one. We have a Fixing Carlton video, which is a list management one. We have a Freo Youth Points tier list.
I can't wait to see your beautiful face on those videos.
Yeah. We may have had a camera issue, and you'll see it when you see it. And then ranking small forward combos.
Lovely. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Thank you for the super chats, all of that beautiful stuff, and we'll see you in the next one.
Why is it behind for you? Hold the pose.